I'm the Commissar. We're watching Forged Alliance Forever, and you might have victory in your grasp. But stay watchful, my loyal viewers. You never know when your enemy has a trick up their sleeve. My loyal viewers, I do enjoy a bit of 3v3 ladder action, if nothing else because of the colours, and never have we needed them more than here, because how are the teams split? Well, we've got 2 for hot team down here and 2 for cold team down here, that's simple enough, but then we've got 1 for hot team up here and 1 for cold team down here. So, a very interesting split. If I were playing this map, I would expect this to degenerate into 2v1s, and we would see which side's pair defeated their singlet, as it were, first. Will that be the case here? Before we find out, though, we are going to go in and meet our players. Starting at the bottom here for hot team, we have Danko7, 1803 rated, and Eon. He's in orange. And his partner in crime up here is Zoom US Web SS or something like that. I'm not quite sure, I'm just going to call him Zoom. He's 1562 rated and UEF. He's in red. And their poor unfortunate castaway over at the other end of the map is Alexanderberlin. He's Eon, he's 1382 rated, and he's in burgundy. Starting off for cold team, this is Plum. He's 1730 rated and Eon. He's in mauve. Supporting him back here, we have Yandex Support, 1699 rated and UEF. He's in light blue. And last but not least, down at the bottom here, separated from the rest of cold team, we have Veselchak, who is 1431 rated and Seraphim. He's in dark blue. Now the map. Look at all this delicious reclaim. The cliff sides have made it even more likely that we're going to see the pair of players funneled in towards the one player and try and wipe him out before he can get him placed. Because this is an easy choke point to defend, and so if the single player gets hold of all of these mexes, he will be able to turtle up very quickly indeed. So I think the pair have to strike quite fast. But then there's all this mass to grab in the middle. We can already see that Zoom is not going for the 2v1. He's coming around here. We have a couple of labs out from Alexander, here and here. But with 2 comms coming up through this small gap, I don't know if those labs are going to get that much done. But still, at least Yandex and Plum are both heading towards Alexander. I'm not sure I like Zoom's play of sending his comm to the mid here. Plum has a dropout. Not sure where it's going. Is he going to try and get this reclaim, maybe? This lab has seen it and is following it. But where's it going? Meanwhile, Zoom's advances, so Danko's seen the drop. And we also have a dropout from Zoom, who was definitely hoping to grab some of this middle reclaim. This patch has been dropped by Plum, and he's left a couple more on board to come for this patch here. However, there are fighters in the air. Who's fighting whom? Nice catch from Plum there, as he drops his engines down here and sets up an emplacement to try and ward off the labs coming in from Alexander. But I don't know if it's going to be quick enough to get this up. The labs are flares which can put out quite a lot of damage, and they indeed deny Plum from getting this reclaim. While over here we have the drop from, forgotten his name, Zoom, is trying to counter Plum's drop on this reclaim, and Zoom has 4 engines here, Plum has only 3, so even though Plum started the point defense first, I think Zoom might finish first, and that could be crucial. Yes, he does. Zoom is going, and he immediately switches to building a factory. He doesn't even stop to cap his point defense, and in combination with a bomber from Danko, Zoom has won this position. Nice work, nice work, as Danko is bringing in yet more engineers to come here. So I think that Hot Team have the definite advantage when it comes to capturing this early reclaim. Meanwhile, though, we're going to jump back in time a little bit, because remember I scorned Alexander's labs as unlikely to get anything done? I was wrong. This lab has snuck past Plum's comm and is in his base, killing his core mexes. However, Plum has... he loses one. Plum's noticed it, though, and I think that this Aurora is going to kill it before it takes out another mex. Yes, it does. So, quick overview of the situation. Looks like map control is going in favour of Hot Team as well, because look at, we're getting these factories going up from Zoom here. Though I think that this will be denied by the tanks from Yandex before Danko can get that point defense here. Oh, by the skin of his teeth, look at that, he just had 50 hit points remaining to build on it. However, we can see here that Cold Team are actually ahead in the reclaim stake somehow, despite those early grabs by Hot Team. So good work there. Zoom's production is really going up though, and I don't know if Danko has enough here that he can use to break through. Meanwhile, Plum is attacking Alexander's emplacement here, but Alexander has his comm here with a point defense. Neither have any upgrades yet, and so I'm reasonably sure that it's going to be fine. However, back to this expansion from Zoom we just mentioned. This is under threat from Yandex, who I said there wasn't enough spam coming in, and I was right, but this is Yandex comm, and I think by the combination of the sandwich between spam and comm, not even 4 factories worth of production is going to be enough to stop Yandex wiping out this area and taking back control. Yeah, look at that. 1 factory down. He should have finished to reclaim this factory. Remember, reclaiming is faster than shooting for a non-upgraded comm. But this is, I think, all going to go down. Now, up here, Plum and Alexander. Well, Plum has just finished the range upgrade in his gun. That was a pretty bold place to upgrade right here, with Alexander's comm and his spam and his turrets so very close. But he's finished the range upgrade. Now he's scooting away before no, he's not. That's not the range, that's a speed upgrade, my mistake. He's got the speed upgrade, and that could be a problem for him when Alexander gets the range upgrade. We have a little run by from Danko here, trying to get into the mexes of Veselchak and Yandex, but Yandex has quickly noticed it and he sent a group of tanks back to intercept. And there's also point defenses from both Veselchak and now Yandex here, which I think will catch it, so I don't believe that this is going to get much done. Plum's bringing himself back into position, but Alexander now has the range and may soon have the speed too. I think that Alexander also has a fraction more spam here. And without the range upgrade, Aurora's outranged. He's starting the range upgrade here. Is he mad? Look at this. So, because he hasn't got range yet, these Auroras outrange the comm, and so they are going to get 3 hits on Plum's upgrading comm routed to the spot while he upgrades. And if that's not enough, Alexander is about to finish speed, already has range, and can come and take some pot shots at him. So, I think that this is a little mad from Plum. He's already into the yellow. Is Alexander going to advance? Yes, he is. He's also putting up point defenses to fall back to. He's bringing in... he's got more spam. Are we just going to see Plum ejected here because he doesn't want to cancel? Alexander could chase him down here. And that might be what he does. Look at this, look at this. We've got so many tanks here compared to how many Plum has. We've got Alexander's ranged comm shooting at him. Or is it shooting... I think we might have a radar problem for Alexander. No, he can see Plum just fine. All he needs to do is charge in and chase Plum down. And he will just... if he does that, he just takes out Cold Team's highest rated player, essentially for free. But he has he lost sight? Yes, look! This is a terrible mistake for Alexander. He hasn't got scouts or radar covering this area, and so Plum, whom he could have just killed, is able to walk away for free. He survived, so he really shouldn't have survived there. And Alexander, realizing that he's very exposed, retreats. Mad. Where was his scouts? Now, my loyal viewers, if you were screaming at me that there was a big fight going on in mid, we're about to watch that. Look at all this production from Zoom. And he is spamming it forward towards Yandex. And he has so much production. Can he actually afford that? No, he can't. But, okay, it's not as bad as it could have been, but he still can't really afford all that. Either way, he's pumping a lot of eco into his production, and it's coming forward to push Yandex back. However, Yandex has some more armies coming in. He has just finished guns, so this might actually be a bit of a mass donation from Zoom. It looked powerful, but I got to admit, suddenly, in the face of this spam and the Guncom advancing towards it, it doesn't. Zoom agrees, and I think he's going to fall back a bit, yes. The armies split up. And don't worry, we're going to look at the south now. Because, while we were looking at all those hijinks further up, Veselchak has finished gun and nano and is pushing in on Danko, who has gun, but not the advanced range upgrade or any other protection. And they both have decent amount of spam, so on paper, I would say that this engagement is in favour of Veselchak, and look at the speed with which Danko is shedding hit points here. But Danko swarms in with his spam, and he's also bringing in T1 bomber support, which is nice. And Veselchak is taking the hits. Danko has fallen back, not wishing to absorb too much of the damage from this heavily upgraded com. His bombers come back for another pass, and he's also going to get a point defense up here, which I'm sure is going to do sterling work. And he's got these 4 units of production here, where there's only like 1 factory for Vesel up here. And that means that he's got spam again, and suddenly Vesel looks very alone indeed, and is into the yellow. Into the yellow enough that despite his nano, Danko is coming forward again, and I think Vesel might be forced to flee for his life at this stage, which has left a very nice reclaim field. How big is that? That's what, 2,000-ish? I know there's a mod I could get to show me that, but and I think I've got it installed. But I haven't got it active, so I just had to zoom out and control shift. Either way, he's left a nice big reclaim pile for Danko. He's not giving up though. He's getting some overcharges in. He's taking out the reclaim engineers, but now he falls back and moves away. Let's have a look in the north. Plum has a few blazes out now to support his defense against Alexander, and Alexander, as far as I can see, doesn't have any tech whatsoever. Where did that come from? A stinger. Oh, I see. I wondered how he had both T2 air and land. Well, Yandex has T2 air, and he's giving these stingers to Plum. So the extra range is going down for Alexander, but that will give him an advantage against Plum. But Plum, with this amount of T2, and remember that blazes are very good against T1 units, which is all Alexander has. That combined with the stingers means that this could be a bit of a problem for Alexander. But I'm going to jump back in time yet again to the south, where Danko has started advanced range, and so Vesel has pushed forward again, and Danko is down into the red. However, the obsidians from Danko here, backed up by some auroras, have made Vesel think twice, and now Danko is bringing in shields to cover his comm, lest Veselchak push in yet again. However, if he's going to be able to finish this, which he will in just a few seconds, then he'll have the range advantage, and Veselchak needs to make his strike now, I think. But has he even got T2 production? He has now, and it's only just started producing anyway. He pushes back in on Danko. Danko with only a couple of thousand hit points left, but now he's got the range. He has the advantage over Veselchak in that regard, as long as he can keep kiting. And there he is, kiting. Vesel tries to push in. Danko's still in the red. But Vesel has realised the danger, and he's falling back. Plum is under a bit of bomber pressure here, but he's got NT cover, and Alexander also going for advanced range, which Plum hasn't got and is in the yellow. That could be a threat to him, but remember, Plum's got this T2 that Alexander does not have. Big side swipe here from Zoom, who reckons he's got enough here with his comm and everything to hold off Yandex. And this is just going to smash in and might just take out this expansion of vessels. Not quite free, because he's got a tiny bit of army here, but almost free. Vessel could lose quite a lot here. He's got his comm coming in with gun and nano, and he's got this T2 point defense going up. But it's not going to save these 4 mexes, and rather than try and take on the gun comm with the Ilshis here... Yeah, look, Zoom's just driving back, and he's going to try and sneak around. Yandex sends gunships to defend, but we have several things to watch right now. Let's have a look. Plum is coming in against Alexander. He's trying to get a bit of a run by here, which is nice, getting his blazes up there. And Alexander feels like he's going to be forced to retreat, but Alexander has a lot of T1 production here. Blazes may be good against T1, but are they good against this much T1? Let's find out. In he goes, trying to take out the production. Even though we just saw Zoom moving half a spam away down there on the minimap, he is going to push in on Yandex nonetheless. Yandex is trying to get shield, but he's a long way from it, and Zoom has both gun and T2, as well as a decent amount of Pillar Tech 2 tanks backing him up. But he's stopping to build T2 point defense to cover himself. That's quite nice. Meanwhile, Vessel is pushing down on Danko again. Danko has got the advanced range, and he's now going for Chrono. Now, as you all know, I love a bit of Chrono. However, Vessel, with his gun and nano, he's a force to be reckoned with, but there are T2 point defenses here to hold Vessel off, and of course, with the extra range, Danko does outrange Vessel. Back to Plum's blazes, now supported by the stingers gifted over from Yandex, as he is going to try and carve his way through Alexander's production. And while Alexander has a few pieces of artillery in there to try and get range on the blazes, he's losing factories fast. But Plum, I think, is backing off. However, Alexander is bringing his comm in. Back to Zoom, who has just finished his T2 point defense, and that's lapping away at the NG supporting Yandex. If he actually pushes in here, and he's started another one for his NGs to finish, and Yandex is forced to cancel the shield, that's very nice for Zoom. Zoom's going to be able to push Yandex back quite hard here. This is a lot of pillars, and he's got the tech advantage in terms of hit points and gun on his comm. Yandex is into the yellow. And Yandex is falling back as Zoom fortifies even more. Back to Danko and Vessel is pushing in despite... I say pushing in, he's just walking in alone, despite the T2 PD. Now, Guncom does beat T2, like that. But if he gets in range of this ACU, he might have a problem. Back to Alexander here. He's got a decent-sized T2 army from Plum to ward off, but with the advanced range as well as the speed upgrade on his comm, and backed up by his hordes of T1 spam, I think he's going to have no problem in driving Plum back. And Plum is all the way over here, driven back. Back to Zoom. Zoom has Yandex running for his life. Yandex does have a shield covering him, and I think that's all that's basically saving him so far. But Yandex has a decent amount of production here, and he's also got T2 point defense of his own to fall back to. And indeed, he stops, he's back into the green. His T2 point defense is in range of Zoom. I think that this is where, if anywhere, Zoom might be called upon to fall back, and indeed it is. Zoom has decided that enough is enough. Back to Danko and Vessel. Danko's Obsidians are making trouble for Vessel, who's only now bringing in Il-Chevaux to support. And Vessel pulls back. What will happen when he finds out about the Chrono Dampener? Meanwhile, we just saw Zoom hitting Vessel Chak's expansion and then turning it into a run-by. Well, that run-by could threaten some of Yandex's stuff back here, but Yandex has just dropped in a bunch of pillars with which to counter this attack, which is very nice. He's also swarming a little bit of T1 spam down here, but I think these pillars are going to be able to do the bulk of the work. However, this is quite a lot of T1 to work through, and I think Zoom has the right idea. Rather than stopping to fight these pillars, he's just running his dudes down here, where they could get work done here, or even against these exposed mexes. Don't know what that shape is. These exposed mexes of Veterchaks here. But Yandex picks up his pillars again, and he's just going to drop them down here. That is very nice. They're going to be able to clear this up with no problem at all. Now Danko has finished his chrono, and he is moving in on Veterchak. Look at that chrono burst go off. I tried to say burst and blast at the same time, and I'm not sure what I actually ended up saying. Now, that chrono would be a lot more useful if there were actually any units for Veterchak to do the stuff here. Chrono doesn't work on commanders. But it might be that Danko just has enough to run Veterchak down anyway here. Because chrono does give you a bit of a hit point boost, as well as a bit more regen. And there's the chrono beginning to pay off, locking down these Ilshis. Veterchak's T2 point defense helping out there. We can saw its shots coming in. But Veser is now basically alone again, and Danko could chase him southward. However, I think he's less interested in killing the comm and more interested in killing this expansion, and you can see why. This is some nice resource and production and defense for Veterchak, and I think with his chrono and with this amount of T2 spam, Danko has the chance to just wipe it out. And also, Veterchak is Core Team Zero's rated player, so he might not want the higher rated players to inherit. And there goes another of Veterchak's expansions. Nice work from Danko. And we're going to go for yet another. Meanwhile, my loyal viewers, all this editing is the price I pay to bring you all the action in the most exciting games. But the action you are going to get, because look at this, Plum has got shield now, though he still doesn't have advanced range, which Alexander does, and he's pushing in, trying to deal with Alexander, and look at all this T2 now that he's got on the front line, which Alexander is still in the main lacking. Does he even have T2 production yet? Okay, he does, but where is it? Where's his T2? Can you see any? I can't. And so Plum advances, just tanking the shots on his shield, and as soon as Plum is in range of Alexander, that extra range of Alexander is not going to help him one little bit. However, Alexander does still have a decent amount of spam, and Plum's spam, while higher tech, is not in position. However, Alexander does feel threatened by it and falls back. He's trying to build point defenses to defend himself, but against this many Obsidians, I don't know how much use a couple of point defenses are going to be. And as if that's not enough, look at this. We have a wave of Stinger Tech 2 gunships coming in from Yandex, and they're also going to apply pressure to Alexander's comm. However, Alexander has a decent amount of anti-air in the mix, and it feels like it's going to be about okay. Yeah, look at all this spam. Plum isn't choosing to push in. I think he's going to retreat a little bit as battle lines are drawn. Yandex finishing shield as well there. But I want to take a brief moment to have a quick overview of this map. Yes, I can see them shooting each other. He's got shield. He's going to be fine. Actually, is he? Anyway, this overview I was talking about, ecos are remarkably even. Core Team has a bit more mass killed, but other than that, look how close these ecos are for this stage in the game. That's quite surprising. Hot Team with the slightly more collected, Core Team with the slightly more killed. It's so even. Yandex going for T2 in addition to gun and shield. That's going to make him very hard to kill. And Veterchak has been sandwiched in here by Danko, but look at the number of Ilshis he's got. Remember, Ilshis are really tough. They're like almost T3 level. And with Veterchak's gun nanocom leading them, they might have a chance to break out here. Alexander, meanwhile, is firing a tactical missile at... What's he firing at? He's firing lots of tactical missiles. I think he's taking out this mech, so we might be going for the mexes in the production. T2 mexes are nice pickups with tactical missiles. And there's one of them right now. Plum is moving forward, trying to drive him back. Another mex is down, and this might be going for the factory. Yes, it is. So lovely work from Alexander's tactical missile there. Uh-oh, we've got to do some play-by-play, though. Let's get going. We have Danko coming in on Veselchak. Vesel has a huge horde of Urshis we mentioned, but look at the Chrono getting work done in freezing them. If they come too close, they just get frozen, and these Obsidians will be able to work through them. And despite Danko being deep in the yellow, despite Vesel having that nano to support him, I think Danko has enough, both in terms of shields to protect his core and Obsidians to deal the damage, that in combination with the Chrono, look at that, look at this being frozen all the time. It might just pick him off. Back to Plum and Alex as they batter it out, and Alex is going forward with that range upgrade, trying to make the best use of it, though his army is all the way back here, which I don't super like for him, to be honest. And Plum is actually going to be able to push in with quite a lot of T2 spam here if he dares. Oh, he fell back a bit there. I think he can just push in here and maybe even kill Alex. Back to Danko and Veselchak, where Danko is absolutely swarming around his blue opponent, and thanks to the Chrono, the Urshis have been shredded. And Veselchak, he may be in the green now, and Danko in the yellow, but Veselchak is surrounded by the units of Danko, and I don't know if he's going to make it. Back to Plum and Alex. Alex has sent a bomber to defend, but I don't think that's going to last very long. But his advanced range does mean he's able to get a few shots off against Plum. However, Plum has a big army here against which Alex is going to have some trouble working. Alex needs his army's support, but Plum is advancing. Back to Veselchak and Danko, where Veselchak now has a lot less health than Danko despite his nano, and he's losing it very fast. He's now down into the red. The Chrono fires for gain. Boom! Veselchak is our first ejection from the game at 20 minutes, 28 seconds. Nice work from Danko, who can now push in here, I think, with all this firepower he's got. Back to Plum and Alex, as Plum looks like he might actually be about to prosecute his attack more significantly on Alex at last. Alex, however, does have that advanced range, which Plum hasn't yet swarmed in an attempt to counter. There's Vesel going up, which we saw a moment ago. And Plum pushes in. Meanwhile, Yandex has managed to sneak these units up through the middle and into Alex's expansion. There was actually a decent amount of mass here. They've wiped out. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mechs is dead to this raid. And sure, they've run into T2 point defenses and T1 point defenses now, but even if they die here, they've already done a huge amount of damage, so well done to these guys. Which will also help Plum, who's worrying about Alex there. His shield is presently down. We'll check back on him in just a moment. Back to Plum and Alex. Alex has PD here, T1 PD, and a lot of T1 spam, but Plum has these Obsidians. And Obsidians are pretty damn tough. And Alex is taking hits. He's having to fall back here. He's not quite into the red, but it's close. However, Plum is also taking fire from these point defenses, and he's going to be forced to fall back. In fact, Alex thinks he can use his range to push in, and he advances. Alex taking pot shots at Plum. He continues to advance, but Plum is swarming his units together. We'll check back in a minute. Now, we must not be unaware there's quite a decent T2 army from Zoom here threatening Yandex, but I think we can't not look at Plum and Alex now, because look at this! Alex is in the red. He's being threatened by the Obsidians from Plum, and Plum might just boom! Plum gets the kill of Alexanderberlin at 21 minutes 40, and I have to ask at this point, What would have happened if Alex had just had a few scouts earlier on? We have a run by from Yandex that we looked at earlier coming in here, but Zoom is chasing it down. And now there are these T3 units out. In fact, look at this. I didn't see this a second ago. Yandex has given Titans to Plum. That's what enabled him to strike the killing blow so quickly. And those Titans will be able to deal some massive damage to the base that was Alexander's, which Danko inherited and then gave to Zoom. But Zoom has more to worry about than this, because Zoom has to worry about these Percys out from Yandex, who has Percys and Titans on the front line. And I don't know, does Zoom actually have T3 build power? Yes, he does. But he doesn't have many T3 units on the front. And Yandex could push him back quite badly here. Yeah, Yandex is going to be able to push Zoom right back as Plum is advancing into the base that Alex just died from. Died from a base? That doesn't make sense. Either way, never let it be said that everything I say makes sense. Plum's shield goes back up, and this army is only T2 and T1. These Titans plus Plum's shielded Guncom should be able to deal with it. This is quite interesting. We have some drops coming in. Oh, but no, they're not. We have a T1 anti-air and a few fighters, and these Obsidians are forced to try and land before they're all shot down. Nice single T1 anti-air doing the work there for Yandex against Danko. Yandex pushes in with his now quite significant swarms of T3 against Zoom, and Zoom might actually be in danger. Zoom has gun and T2, which it gives them quite a lot of health, but that will not stop that many Percys if they all focus him. Look at that, Zoom's already on half health. And this is just going to be swarmed down. Actually, is it? Because we're now getting more T3 units coming out from Zoom, and that might actually be enough to save him, just though he's deep in the red, and he gets a crucial rank of veterancy. One more Percy hit would have killed him there, but he vetted up, and now he's able to get out of there. He's somehow managed to save both this expansion and his comms life, somehow. And there is, what, 5,000? 10,000, 11,000 reclaim there for him to pick up. What a... I was not expecting that for Zoom, but well played. Now, Zoom had a little bit of an army here, but Plum has come across with the Titans given over by Yandex, and he's easily going to wipe it out. And he's already got engineers coming in here picking up the reclaim, and I'm sure he'll be able to capture the mexes as well soon enough. Danko, meanwhile, is moving in with his chrono to try and clear out what was once Vessel's base, but there are no Ophiums being produced here. Yandex has upped it to T3. And with this many Ophiums, this many point defense, that is a lot of T2 point defense, and those Ilshis, and more Ophiums being shipped in all the time, I do not know if Danko has the firepower to handle this. He's got shields covering himself, sure, and he's got some Obsidians in support, but where's the T3? I can see some on the field there, that's a Harvey coming out, but where's the T3 up here that he desperately needs to break this amount of stuff? Yeah, look, he's going to be forced back. Is he going down into the red? No, he gets out of range, but he hasn't got enough to prosecute this attack right now. Now, Zoom and Yandex, on 2 bases each, have about the same eco, 250 give or take, but look at the eco lead that Danko has over Plum, and that has meant that Hot Team now have a significant eco lead. They also have the lead in total mass, and they have the lead in mass killed, and they have, if you look at this line here, despite Plum's victory there, they have the map control. So overall, I think Hot Team are in a very strong position. Is this game theirs to throw? We're going to have to find out. Zoom has drawn up a very powerful battle line here to threaten Yandex, but he doesn't think he has enough to push in. And with Yandex's shield gun T2 comm and the shields and stealth field and everything that he's putting up here, I think that Zoom is right not to push in. This is quite cool, though. We have a cheeky little Harvey drop flying in behind. Zoom has seen it and is very loudly seeing it and is complaining how slow the inties are. So this Harvey is now down. There are a bunch of T2 mechs that can just clear up basically for free here. How will Zoom be able to respond? There's also a full continental of stuff coming in here. We're gonna have to watch everything. However, let's go to play-by-play. Plum, with his T2 army and the Titans from Yandex, is pushing in on the side of Zoom, while Zoom's army is up here. But he's found a little more resistance than he hoped in the form of some Percys. So it looks like he's going to try to turn it into a run-by. Is this going to pay off? There's a little bit of resistance from Zoom here, but I don't think there's enough to stop the attack. And back to Yandex's drop. Look at this. This is all T2 mechs. That one's already invested some of the way to T3. And this one is just going to be able to absolutely smash it. Is it going to come back here and try and take up this production of these mexes? No, it's just taking out the mexes and it's going straight on for the base of Danko. And remember that Harvey that we saw Plum doing earlier? Well, look at this, it's doing great work. It's moved on, it's taking out multiple T2 mexes here. To be fair, they're not capped yet, but even so, one Harvey taking out, this is going to be what, 5 T2 mexes? I think that is definitely going to pay for itself. And is there any answer yet? I don't see one. It could move on and do still more damage. 5 mechs is dead. But we're now going back into play-by-play as the Obsidians and Titans from Plum get into Zoom's expansion, and Zoom is dropping in Percys here to try and defend, which is good. But he, I think, is going to lose quite a lot of eco before he's allowed to stop it. As for Veselchak's Yandex's drop, so here it is coming in on the front of Danko's base, and it takes out a T3 P-Gen. That has got to hurt. Yeah, look at that, he's leeching off his friends and he can't spend his mass fast enough now that he's lost that. And he's trying to spend it on putting up point defenses, but these guys are just going to town on it. However, there is T3 production here, he is producing Harbies. Will this raid be cleaned up? Harbies, I think, being flown in here by Danko to do the deeds. That's a very nice touch. As more come out, and with this cheeky triple Harvey drop using only T1 transports, the raid is stopped. That's beautiful. Oh, is he going to lose a mechs? No. Nice work from Danko in defending. Plum's units continue their advance, and look at the amount of eco damage they're getting. Mex is dead here, Mex is dead here. How many have they killed now? Are they going to be able to kill any more? These are just inties, and yeah, they're just swarming in. 4 dead there, 5, 6, 7 Mex is dead from Plum. This is absolutely amazing. Are there going to be any more? Well, looks like going to be 8. But now we have to go into play-by-play because this is a big group of Percys. That's what, 10 Percys from Zoom coming up here? And Plum has like a Harvey and a couple of shields in terms of defense, but his comm is standing right there. And sure, he's got shield and gun, but without the advanced range and without heavy shields, these Percys might actually just kill him right here where he stands. Down in the south, here is Danko, and Yandex has taken this immense army of Othiums and Ilshis he's inherited, and he is going to try and chase Danko out, and I think he has got more than enough firepower to succeed. The question is not, can Danko defend? The question is, can Danko escape? And I genuinely don't know the answer to that. Meanwhile, Yandex is going in for the pitched battle against Zoom. He's got a decent army here, but I mean, so has Zoom. And this could go either way. Yandex's comm is quite wisely staying back with this amount of Percys on the field, and Zoom's is also a long way away right now. In fact, he's right down there in Danko's base, we can see. And is Zoom going to be forced back? And we must not forget the fantastic raid of plums, which keeps on doing damage. Is it going to get this 8th mix? I think it might, or even a 9th. The eco damage is real. There's a line of point defenses going up here, but will that be enough to stop all the T3 in this mix? I don't know, but let's quickly go and check on Danko. Yeah, look at that. Is Plum... Look how quickly they're shredding his shield. Plum might be about to die here. However, this choke point is going to help him, and it's blocking a lot of the firepower. I think he is going to escape. Just about. However, there are gunships here from Yandex. That's going to be a problem if he can't defend against them. But the gunships are down. There goes Plum. And the units from Yandex have come around the top, where there are a couple of sniper bots in here, but I think this is more than enough to tank it. The broadswords are still hitting Danko, but I feel as if he's going to be okay when he brings some air in. Back to Yandex fighting Zoom in the middle. And there are point defenses here from Zoom, which is going to help him keep the pressure up, but Yandex is not fazed by this. And the Percys, if nothing else, will have a field day smashing their way through the point defenses. Seems like Zoom might be a little out of position here. There goes Plum, which we've now seen happen in the background at least once. And Yandex continues to do damage. He's getting some nice positioning here, keeping the bulk of his army out of the line of fire of Zoom's defensive forces. He might get more work done. We're back with Plum as the raid continues to do its work. And this would be a lovely pickup, this mech that's almost... Actually, I haven't really started upgrading, it's still paused. But... oh no, they left it alive! That was so close! That could have done real work. There goes Plum. And so, thanks to the point defences, they've been warded off, and the raid continues to advance. It's inherited by Yandex. Okay, back to Danko as Yandex brings in a strat, and Danko's already pretty heavily damaged. He gets under a shield there. But that strat, supported by ASFs, is going to be a lot harder for Danko to stop, and Yandex also brings in his units as the strat comes back for another pass. Boom! Ouch! That's hurting Danko. And his chrono is still doing the work to negate the Urshis, and the strat goes down as another bomb comes off. Boom! Danko is into the red with only 3,000 health, but the Urshis are going to be chrono to death. Great work from Danko. Back to Yandex advance as he is smashing Zoom's front line, and he's now reforming here and pushing back in, and this might be a good angle, but Zoom is messing up under shields, so I think he might be able to save the day. That said, there's still a lot of Percys here for Yandex and a couple of Ophiums. The shields go down and there are more reinforcements coming in. Will Zoom be able to hold? All of these are just engines in the factories. That's all he's got left. I think Zoom might crumble. Back to the raid from Plum, now inherited by Yandex, but I don't think it's got much further to go because it came this way and it found that there was a decent amount of T3 production up here, and so now it's falling back, but it's now been sandwiched by Harbies and Percys and point defences, and I do not believe it's going to get any more work done. Still, this was a hero raid. It did so much damage, and look at the eco difference as a result. That's 180. That's a gigantic lead. Back to Danko, he's in the red. There's still an Urshi here, but the sniper bots take it out. He's in the red. Can he bring shields in to cover himself before the next strat from Yandex reaches it? Yes, he can, my loyal viewers. That was a close shave. Back to Yandex pushing in on Zoom, and Zoom has a lot of production here, but only actually 5 of them are T3. But look at the army that Yandex is swarming in with. I do not know if Zoom is going to be able to survive. What's your bets, my loyal viewers? What's going to happen? Quick look back at Danko as he covers himself with shields. There are more strats coming from Yandex, but I don't think they'll survive all this T3AA before they break well, they do break through the shield, actually. Are they going to hurt him? No, they're not. Good catch. Oh, this is going to be close. Oh, 1900 hit points. Is the strat going to get... the strat doesn't get another pass. Close escape for Danko. Meanwhile, Yandex's troops continue pushing in. And look at all the production they've destroyed for poor old Zoom. But Zoom is putting up a vast bank of point defense here, or at least he's trying to, while Percy's continue to come in and support all the time. Though I've got to ask now, from where? But this looks like it might be enough, because this is a bit of a trickle now, and this is a lot of point defense. Is it an overinvestment? Not if it saves his life, but that's 13 T2 point defenses there, and more going up all the time. And this assault is going to be stopped. Meanwhile, a new army is coming out from Yandex, from the base that used to belong to Veselchak, and it's got a decent number of Artheums, a decent number of Elshis, and Danko, despite his com being deep in the red, more than mad lad, he's coming in with his balls out, and not much else, especially in terms of hit points, and he's going to try and shoot this army. I mean, he's got advanced range, the pings are going down like mad, from Alexander saying, no, don't do it. And instead, Yandex retreats his army. He's scared of this amount of heavy sniper firepower, T3 and shields. Yeah, that feels like a lucky escape for Danko. I think that Yandex could have pushed in and killed him there. What's oh, well, this is what Yandex is actually doing. He's just moving away so he can strat snipe, and Danko is out in the open. He is not covered by his shields, and the strats are coming in. Is this going to be the moment of truth for Danko as the strats drop their bombs? The bombs fall, and Danko is dodging like a mad lad, but boom, it is not enough. Danko is down and out. And now the game is 1v1, Yandex support versus Zoom, whatever. He did just finish an XP there. Where was it? It's a GC here, which Zoom will, of course, inherit. Of course, that's lying. Zoom just inherited it. The com is being pung and the strats go for it, but Zoom has enough ASF that he's not going to be at risk from what's left of those strats. Still, remember when I said that this felt like Hot Team's game to throw? Well, it feels sort of like it's being thrown. Look at the map control here. The eco is actually sort of evened out again. But Hot Team has collected more mass, and Core Team's killed more mass, so the only real difference now is the map control, and the fact that we have a 1700 versus a 1500, give or take. So now I would say that the favour is slightly for Core Team, but I'm not really sure, and of course we do have this experimental coming forward. Actually, how much was that mass kill do? That's like a 40, 50, 60k lead in mass kill. Oh no, it's not. I can't do math. That's 30k lead. What am I talking about? 30, 60, basically the same number, right? And let nobody tell you otherwise. However, this is a... Yandex has got a fatty up and running, which is quite powerful. But this army might just be enough to break through, given the damage we saw being done here earlier. What has Zoom got that can stop this? I am not really sure. However, the GC is moving in. These units are mostly faster than the GC, but off the top of my head, I do not know whether a GC or a Percy is faster. Tell me in the comments below if you know. This GC might be able to catch up with this force if it's not microed carefully. These Harbies can catch up with it, and they might be able to hit some of the Ilshis at the back, but there we go. In the patch preview that went out today, I saw that GC tractor claws are getting nerfed, but that's the least of many changes, which I will of course be covering in a patch video when it comes out, so you have that to look forward to, my loyal viewers. Meanwhile though, the GC is actually doing a pretty good job of clearing up the main bulk of this attack in here. However, I think a few pillars are going to outrun the GC, and they may get more work done. The pillars are certainly faster than these Percies that Zoom has just produced. This is an immense amount of TP production. Can Zoom afford it? Not for long, but he's got a lot in storage, and there's a lot for him to reclaim as well, so he might just... Anyway, these pillars move on, they'll probably kill some mexes. But we've got to check back on them, because not only is the Fat Boy advancing here, it's probably going to be getting in range of this expansion pretty soon. And so, Fatty versus GC. The Fatty wins if it can kite the GC. And I am sure that Yandex has Omni now and knows where... Okay, I take that back. I am not sure that Yandex has Omni now. He doesn't know where the GC is, and so the GC might actually be able to ambush the Fatty unless he manages to get a scout off. However, the Fatty is quite the threat for Zoom, and he ought to be moving in this GC to try and kill it, because he must know surely now he's in range of it, and yet the Fatty's not firing on him. That means the Fatty can't see him yet. And there we go, he's moving. He's moving towards the Fat Boy. But while that's happening, is that a distraction from this Novak satellite that I see flying over for Yandex? And with only one shield covering his base, one miserable T2 shield, I don't know if Zoom is in a position to survive. Now the Fat Boy does kite back. Oh, we've got this bug again. Look at this, it's leaving a trail of mass points again. What is it with this bug? I don't know. I thought they'd fixed it, but I guess they've unfixed it or something. As the Fatty leaves its trail, and now the GC is just being kited nicely by the Fatty. The combination of Fatty and GC will be nice, but this Novax is trying to wear its way through the Fatty's shield. Killing this would be a great target for Novax. I see a ring there from Vesichat who agrees with me. Zoom is not happy about the satellite, and Yandex is saying, haha, recall! And those pillars did get some more work, and we mentioned them earlier. They're about to be killed by these Percies, but they killed 6 mexes again. Meanwhile, this GC is trying to dodge the Fatty Fab, but it's not doing a very good job of it. And of course, the Fatty from Zoom is very, very slow indeed, and it's having its shield still worn down by the Novax. The Novax, by the way, is on the front line, and Yandex has just finished another. You remember that game we had recently where there were like 2 YOLOs on the front line? This isn't quite that silly, but it still feels moderately silly, and I suppose Yandex considers the front line to be up here now, where it is. We have some Percies creeping around from Zoom, which is nice, and we also have this. This is a big force of Harbies, more than enough here, and... Huh. I didn't even see what took those out. You can tell me in the comments below if you like. Meanwhile, though, the GC and the Fatty from Zoom, pressured by the Novax, pressured by strats out from Yandex. This feels... The shield is down on the Fatty, and between the Novax and the strats, I think they're going to kill it before it gets any damage done. Kaboom! That Fatty is just dead! And the GC is into the yellow. This feels like Zoom is suddenly extremely on the back foot, and what was a huge lead for him is now crumbling. And there's the second Novax coming in. They're both working on the GC at present. There's a little bit of broadsword defense against these Harpies, which will work through them in the end. I feel they would be doing... I like picking up these mexes here. I feel they would be doing better work going in here, taking out the air, taking out the production here. I think he's got enough to do that, especially if he brings these fellows in. Look, I'm drawing on the map like a mad lad. Anyway, though, these Harpies are still doing work. They're getting eco damage done. But the eco lead is now definitely in favour of Yandex as the 2 Novaces move in, and they might be in a position to snipe Zoom's comm. They're going for it. And Zoom is having trouble focusing on everything as these Harpies down here have just stopped, and the Fatty is tearing them apart for free, while he's desperately focusing on saving his comm and microing these Harpies. Yandex's broadswords are clearing this up. We have quite a large force coming in here of Humes, Harbies actually, and Percys. But there's a lot of T3 production here, and it's producing all Percys, and I think that Zoom will be able to stop that. And now look, this Harby raid that we mentioned earlier, there are so many broadswords from Yandex. I say so many, that's 10 broadswords, but there's no anti-air in here, and these Harbies are going to be dead in seconds, basically. Meanwhile, the Novaseas are working on the shield above Zoom. He's heavily assisting it, which is probably good, given the T3 shield here being assisted, and the T2 shield here he's also under. I think he might be able to hold against 2 Novaseas, which are getting a nerf in the new patch. Or will be getting a nerf. Probably. I would be hitting these with the Novax first, these P-gens. Or even this P-gen. But that's not Yandex's core, as his Fatty, which of course remained undamaged, is coming in to swing the fight against these Percys from Zoom as the broadswords come in. And in fact, it looks like they're just going straight in for the snipe, though I can't see the order. Oh, there it is, it's going there. Yeah, they're coming straight in for the snipe to see if they can work with the Novaseas. Is there enough anti-air, which you can see is being thrown up in profusion here by Zoom? Is there enough anti-air to stop these broadswords from helping the Novaseas to get the snipe? More Percys being killed as the Fatty advances, and suddenly there's very little resistance there, but we have to watch the broadswords. ASFs come in. Yandex brings his ASFs in response. The Transcender SAMs, the anti-airs, are firing at the broadswords as one shield is down. This shield is still being heavily assisted, but with the firepower from the Novaseas and the broadswords, how long will it last? But the broadswords have been taken out, and it's back to just the Novaseas, and I think that this shield will last long enough for this shield to come back up as more shields are being thrown down by the engineers. Wow, what a close shave. Yandex sends a group of Ophiums down here to take out this expansion, which will cripple Zoom's eco, I would say even more. He's not actually that far behind somehow. He's somehow managed to keep it. And what is this? He's built a Tsar up in the corner and he's working on another one underneath it. Now, I believe that... How are we looking on air control? We have about 4 ASFs and a lot of NTs for Zoom. We have 36 ASFs for Yandex. So, but is 36 ASFs enough to take down a Tsar? I do not know. And the shields are down over the comm. The shields are down as the engineers are targeted. The P-gens will be a perfect target if he doesn't think he'll be able to get it up before but the shield is somehow back up, and Zoom keeps on shielding. And this now, look at this. This base has been completely eliminated. There were 2 fatties in there now, and once they get round here, there are now 3 Novaseas as well. The shield keeps going down. Zoom is surely toast. But he has a last-ditch effort in reserve, and it is this Tsar. Will it be able to get there in time? Will it be stopped by the anti-air? Will it be stopped by the ASFs? This is a nice Harvey push, but we do not care about that now. It's all down to the race between the Novaseas, which have finally targeted the P-gens, between the Novaseas and the Tsar. Shields are being desperately thrown up. Does he have the power to use them? He does. He's got heaps and heaps of power. And he's hiding under shields. He's trying to keep them all up. This is so much of a... All he has to do is stall. When these fatties get into range, he is going to be absolutely screwed. But the Tsar is now coming in. There are 4 Novaseas now and a 5th under construction. But this is the target, and the ASFs come in for Yandex, but it might just be a little bit too late as the Tsar beam opens fire on him. The Tsar beam opens fire on him, and boom! Despite having... Look at this, look at this. The shields were all down. He was under the triple Novak's fire, soon to be like 5 Nova Cs. He was under double Fatboy attack. All things were coming in. Everything for Zoom was going to port. And yet somehow he just managed to sneak Zar through, which Yandex failed to scout and get the snipe. That was crazy. Ooh, tell me what you thought. What a finish. At first, it looks like Hot Team was going to win, and then Cold Team, or mainly Yandex, staged a huge comeback, everything was in their grasp, and boom, suddenly, out of nowhere, a Tsar. Could he have avoided that if he'd been scouting? I think he could, because one, the Tsar counts as a gunship, and his huge heap of broadswords could have shot at it, and two, he had air superiority, he had everything superiority. So I think scouting was his mistake there. But we're all guilty of hyperfocus sometimes, I know I am. Tell me what you thought in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and obey. I'm the Commissar. I will see you next time.